Welcome to the monthly show. I've been doing this show for years, and I say pretty much the same thing every time before the show gets started, which is that I designed this show years ago with the notion that analyzing your own games is the way to improve. It is very difficult to do, and it takes a little bit of a learning curve before people get there. It's not something that you just immediately do. A lot of times, the first time you do it, you'll do an analysis of the game and you'll feel as if there were only a couple points where there was something to be said. And then later, you can evolve to a point where you see that there's loads of questions almost on every move, and there's a lot of things to say instead of just variations. There's just things that you can say about that. Okay. So there's this little board thing. I hope that's gone now. Maybe somebody could confirm that for me. That was something from David's show. All right, so I've been doing this for years, and we have several games today. I'm going to show you. Here's the scene where we're going to start off with games that I called difficult, and they were difficult just for me. They were difficult, especially this first game. Like, there's even some emotional things. Then we got the dojo battles. So 5 games that were played between members of the dojo, and then a collection of other games that were submitted. Basically, everybody's submitting games through our Discord server. Yeah, and could someone confirm that the little board thing has gone away, right? That was part of David's show. All right, so let's get into it. And yeah, let's get into it. And I spent a lot of time with this game with Laurent, also known as Hick and Nook. Nook, here and now. So this is a simul. Oh, look at this. Go back between the other scene. Sometimes, you guys, you have to really scream at me if I forget to go between screens. Sometimes I'm just so involved in thinking about the game that I forget to do obvious moderator job things. And so just shout at me in like purple. Okay, timeout. So there is this X thing, because I'm not seeing the X thing. I might need David Pruse's help or something. Can someone confirm there's some little box thing? Oh no, that's terrible. Vote chest, go away, vote chest. How do I get it out of there? Oh yeah, I see it. There's my X, and I got rid of it, but it's not gone. Is it gone, you guys? One click it away, but it's not gone. Because I don't see it on my thing, but you're seeing it on your thing. Okay, I'm gonna talk to the Discord guys here. Need help. Pruse's thingy won't go away. Top right of the vote pop-up. You know, I did it, dude. I put the X, and then I don't see it anymore, but you guys are seeing it. So I need some kind of help. Can't see it, DM Hokey. Can't see it, buddy. I've got the X and I'm clicking it away and it's not going away. I need to get rid of it. How about now? Is it gone now, you guys? The viewer has to click it away. Okay. All right, everybody. So you heard it there. DM Hokey has solved our problems. You have to close it yourself. That's why I was able to close it, and then you have to close it yourself. Okay. So here we go. This first game, I'll say, was difficult for me because I feel like I've lost several games in the same way that Laurent, aka Here and Now, has lost this game. So this is a simul against a master. Let's call him 2200. And here we go. E5, Schmidt-Benoni, and there's just so many different ways that white can respond to this setup. So we got E4. I'm going to close my chess piece because it's sucking all my energy dry. There we go. And I think an easier way to have done this would have been to play knight c3 in this position, just because now with bishop e7, at least black has an idea. What's his idea? To play bishop g5. Now, it's obviously not the end of the world for white if black achieves this trade, but it's definitely a good thing for him. And the way to think of it really is a King's Indian position where normally the bishop is poor on g7, and he's going to get rid of it with bishop g5. The other thing that's curious about this setup is, the way Fischer played the King's Indian was generally not what we'd consider the modern way. He always, not always, but very often played a setup with c5 in the King's Indian, which results in a position like this, which is a weird beast, right? Because white clearly has more space and can break with b4 and f4. But it is surprisingly durable. Some people like Levon Aronian are playing this in blitz chess and rapid chess, just as like a setup. Now, I do not like Lawrence's next move, queen a4. And it feels already like he is losing his mind a little bit about what to do against this setup. It feels like knight f3 has to be the right move. And I guess if I'm trying to channel him, he's thinking that, okay, if knight d7, knight f3, and then I don't have to worry about bishop g4, and then hence I don't have to worry about bishop g5. Okay, so instead, black plays bishop d7, which I also don't really like. So to that end, we gotta say, even though I really don't like queen a4, it does essentially not ruin anything. And definitely it provokes bishop d7, which I don't like as a move, because it's not really a developing move. Now, queen b3, Laurent gave a question mark to. By the way, you can see here up above me, those are Lawrence's notes. And I try to, show the notes because the heart of the show, to my mind, is that people are analyzing the game. It's not really my, thoughts that are the important thing. For improvement, what Laurent did is what is important. So he gives it a question mark, but the problem is if you go queen c2, which he wants to do, then black achieves his dream, and then he really is fine. So I felt like queen b3 had to be correct, and I'm not thrilled with b6. Okay, so knight f3, and now he plays f5, which I'm going to call controversial. I feel like I've played many of these guys before, and what they do generally is do a very slower thing. Like they're just determined to get the bishop over here, man. And they're determined to trade it off at all costs. And I think that's what like the experienced people would play. I also think they would play knight bd7 instead of bishop d7. And f5 is just very dangerous because you are opening the position before you're really ready to. And Laurent correctly, I thought, plays this and asks a simple question. And if black has nothing better than f4, then that's all we need to do. All right, If you're just joining us and you see a weird box that was created by Mr. Bruce in the thing before, and I can't figure it out. I am not a millennial. I can't figure that out. But you can click it away. You can click that thing away. So if this is the best that black has, we have to say that Lawrence's move, G3, is great, especially if he has to take. And in this position, I think we gotta say lovely. Just a lovely position for white here. We have the better pawn structure. He's got weaknesses on the king side. His pieces are poor. And in particular, with games where you have more space, one or more of your opponent's pieces are going to be poor. So here we can say that the bishop on d7 is in the way of the knight. It's in the way of the queen, and the bishop here is poor, and of course the knight has a real question about where to go. That being said, black's position really is fundamentally sound, right? There's no easy way to get at it, and that's kind of the thrill, I think, of this position for black. Okay. Knight a6, I'm not a huge fan, but I also don't know what the guy should do. Bishop d2, there were other options. Let's just pretend that that's okay. And now, knight b4. Now, one of the things that happens in analysis is you can say to yourself, oh, since knight b4 ended up, I ended up losing this game, I should have stopped it and played a3. And I really disagree. First of all, before I disagree, I need to say that, of course, I know the phenomenon, and one of the things about analyzing your games is that you really want to be clear about what your actual mistakes were. And I don't think it was a mistake to allow the knight into b4. It's a tourist over there. The knight on b4 is totally a tourist in this position. And a5, Lauren gives that an exclam. I don't think that's an exclam move. I don't think that pawn's doing all that much. Now with a5 as well, it's going to be much harder for black to get any kind of break himself on the queen side. Whereas we just have this beautiful position on the king side. Okay, so queen d1, I thought, actually, I was confused on this one because here Lawrence says a3 question mark a4, and we'll just go back. There's no problem, right? I don't get it. So that was just something I think what he's thinking is that a4 is an achievement for black, and I'm just not sure it is. I don't know why that's such a big achievement. I think in a lot of King's Indian positions, it's achievement if you can stop b4 from happening. But in this position, our kingside dominance is already ready for us to start moving over there. Okay, so I didn't understand that, but I still think your positions, there's nothing wrong with your position. a3, knight a6, and now b3. So this shows that you're terrified, right, of a4. And although b3 does not ruin your game in any way, I think this is the first moment I was saying to myself, Lawrence's position is amazing, and here is where we should be looking to conduct some improvements. Now, I'll say that one of the hardest things about this position for white is you're dealing with a space advantage, and the space advantage is just really tough in the sense that you generally don't have some big tactical blow to kill the guy with. What you're doing is you're trying to make his pieces bad. And one of the main things of keeping them bad is to not let him trade anything off. In particular, to not let him trade off any minor pieces. So the issue right here that we're going to discover is that if and when black achieves knight g4, then he will have freed the rook on f8, and we'll probably have to trade the thing, and that's exactly what happens. So b3 is a mistake, not because of knight c7, but because black could have already played knight g4. And why don't we look at that knight g4 position and then come back to what maybe Lawrence should have done. So here's a great example of space. The knight on f6 was in the way of the rook and this battery, right? So if we could have kept the knight on f6, it's definitely something we would have wanted. And a metaphor I've been using for years that I really like is that if you think of black's position like a house, right? There are several positions, pieces, squares actually, that are like the bathroom in the house. And if you imagine you have several kids in this house who, let's say you got 5 kids, and they all are going off to school in the morning, and it's 7 o'clock, and everybody wants to use the bathroom. Well, that squares like f6 and e7 are the bathroom squares. Everybody wants to get in, everybody's shouting at each other, and the way to solve the problem is to send your kids off to college, to get them out of the house. And that's what's going to happen with this knight, because we're going to be forced not only to spend some time to deal with the knight's obnoxious deal over there, but we're going to eventually have to trade it off. Now, white is probably still better after all this happens, but it would have been much better if we go back here to play a move like knight h4. I thought about this position a while. I thought about knight g5, knight h2, and honestly, they're all pretty good as long as we prevent knight g4. Because once he achieves knight g4, he's really freed his pieces, right? And you can see that all of black's pieces have problems. The only piece that we'd be willing to trade, I think, is that beautiful bishop on b7, right? That's the one beast that we would be willing to get rid of, trade it. Ideally, we'd like to trade it for our bishop on f1. And he can do all kinds of things, but at some point, maybe we'll even dream of something like that, or if he moves the knight, we're going to play bishop g4. And this was one of the fundamental insights in Michael Steen's classic Simple Chess, which then Gelfand quoted in his Positional Chess, which is that in terms of the space advantage, it's the minor pieces in particular that are going to be dominated in a space advantage. But you also see here with the knight on f6, it's going to free the rook when he gets to play knight g4. So I think one thing that Laurent can maybe take away from this is what he was obsessed over was this a4 move, which doesn't do anything that special for black. As far as I can tell, it creates a weakness. And so he's obsessed with the pawns instead of the pieces. And of course, my hashtag for that is pawns aren't people. Okay. G5, I think, would be a bad move because, well, for one, it's probably hanging something directly to G5. But even if it wasn't, we could play knight to F5. Again, we're willing to trade this thing over here. Right? Okay. So B3, and we had another chance of playing knight H4 here. And you see Lauren's very happy about it. He's like, Queen C2, exclamation. And I gotta say, this thing about not exchanging pieces, I didn't understand that for the longest time. I didn't have a proper chess coach when I was a kid, and I really didn't understand that element of the game. Knight D1, and now B5. And B5 is, let's just say, okay, it feels like he should be messing with him, it's true. Knight H4, but I feel here he is misguided. Black is. Now, Lawrence says that he should do something like snip, snap, and G6, and I don't like that. I think to me, it's obvious what the guy should do. The guy should play bishop G5. No more questions about it. That's for sure what we want to do. Get rid of that terrible thing. Trade some dudes off. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So, knight H4, snip, snip, knight E8, a weird move, but we understand it. Knight F5, good. And now, the gross knight gf6. Gross because the dude is not, he didn't get any of his trades. He didn't get any of his trades, man. None of the trades happened. And now we start squeezing him. Very good. So in just that little bit, what you can see is that space is a very delicate concept to understand. And especially in this age where we're all playing 3-0. By the way, I played such bad 3-0 today that Fischer used to look at me from the back there on the wall. He just fell off. I was playing GM Artur's Nixons, and Fischer had had enough of me, man. He just said, not only is this your play gross, the blitz is gross, everything is gross, I'm falling down. So now he's on the floor. And I think that's the state of a lot of people's chess at the moment. Fischer isn't looking at them anymore. It's just too nasty to look. In any case, when you're playing a lot of blitz chess, and just in general, it's hard to understand the space advantage. And this player Lauren's playing against, he doesn't get it either, right? Because all of a sudden, this happens, and then he gives up his good bishop. Oh la la. All right, so now white is officially doing great. Okay, Lauren doesn't comment too much on this next move. By the way, I know I'm spending a lot of time on this game, and I will have less time for the other games. I understand. But I wanted to spend some time on this one because I've been traumatized by this Schmidt-Benoni thing too. Games where like I was winning for sure, and then somehow it all fell apart. Lauren doesn't comment on this move, but I think for sure that EF is a very interesting move to play. Yeah, very powerful, where we can think about knight c3 to e4. We can think about f3, and then of course he's got to worry about g5. So let's just say that that was also an interesting notion. And I think part of the problem that Lauren has can be seen in this decision to take. He's still doing great, but what I want to stress is what Lauren, I think, sees when he plays GF is he sees the G file. And here's the thing. White, it's great to attack, but first of all, that G7 square is about the one fortified thing that black really has in this position. Second of all, I don't think it's about the king right now. I think that's very misleading, and that's how I've lost games like this myself. Why are we going after the king? It's about space. And his pieces over there, they don't do anything except protect the king. That's all they do. So I think white wanted to think about the game in two ways. How do I continue to dominate the pieces? And how do I open the board for the two bishops? I think that's going to be a significant thing going forward. Okay, rook b8, and now rook b1. And Lawrence says advantage. Do we want to trade a rook? Honestly, the rook on b8 is a pretty harmless dude. And so rook b1 I'm not 100% on. It would have been, I think, much simpler to just go ahead and plant this big bad boy here on knight b5. It's a real hassle in the castle, you know? That's a really hard guy to deal with. So, boom, boom, boom. And now queen a8, which is really a gross move. Okay. By the way, like here, I think he at least wants to consider moves like this, you know, to get this guy out. He should at least be considering. Okay. Knight c3, we should, okay, yeah, that's fine. Knight c3, knight c7, a4. A little bit weird, but I don't think it's terrible. Maybe it's terrible. This is one part of the game I really have some trouble, you know, figuring out. It's, let's say this, it feels unnecessary because the only reason to really do it is to prevent black from playing a4, and I don't think that's such a big thing. Now, I think you did it partially because since you're going to put the knight on b5, you want the psychological reassurance that he's not going to like win the b5 square or pawn. But you have to see in this position, like you are the master of the light squares, right? So you playing knight b5 is never that big of a thing. All right. So here we go. A4. And here, it's funny, your opponent is obsessed. He's obsessed with putting the tourist on b4. And I think there was some time when I was a kid and a similar position, and some GM just was calling it a tourist, and then it stuck in my mind. I was like, oh, right, that's just a tourist, man. That knight isn't really doing anything. Now, was it better than it was when it was on e8? Probably. Okay, so now we get the rook g1. Like I said, white is still better, but I think the mistake here is trying to overwhelm him with some kind of attack, when really we got to say we're better because he's got terrible minors and our bishops are beautiful. And you could have, as you write, done this one. Boom, boom. And here you give a variation, but if you just look at it, it's like, oh man, white is doing great. And here again, what you're looking for in your notes is some kind of knockout blow on g7, but you don't need it. You know, you can think about moves like f4. Why? Because you want to open the position, right? And it looks really bad. To me, that looks very bad. Is it still hard? It is, but you know, you can think about then building the king position with something like that. Your pieces are amazing. Your pieces are amazing here. Okay, so rook g1. It feels natural, but right. Look, let's just look at what happens here, because it was stunning to me. It looks great, right? It looks like he's just killing. And here we have another decision. What he does looks killing. Looks absolutely devastating. And I was psychologically traumatized by this, because I was looking at this and I was like, well, white's got it. I mean, even though we can complain about black going after the king in the way he did, it still looks great, right? Well, the more we look at it, it's like, oh, not so easy. All of a sudden, black's got things like bishop f6 happening, f3 happening. And once f3 happens, it's really a bummer. And there's no easy way to do anything. And then it's like immediately white falls apart. It's like happens instantly. You know, everything comes together. Goodbye. Oh man, goodbye. So very interesting game. And I want to stress, like, a couple positions in my career where I've lost really badly, and like, let's say against the King's Indian. Honestly, in general, I've done fine against the King's Indian, but the couple losses I've had have been so painful that they've really stuck out in my mind. This thing too, I feel like I've had similar things where I've had the space, I've had the advantage, and then it all fell apart. So I just wanted to spend some time on this one, partly for selfish reasons, but also I just think it's instructive when you have a space advantage and then it somehow all goes to pot. And, you know, I think a lot of those decisions in there aren't easy to make even at a slower time control, you know, and obviously you got a somewhat slow time control with this thing. It just takes a lot of experience to play with space. Okay. So this is the first game AFM Hughes, and I gotta say, I'm just gonna go with my second scene here. This is our game review and the kind of timetable here. I didn't get all of the games in here, actually, so I failed. And one of the reasons is that before I used to do this show on chess.com and people would post their game, there was this little applet thing they did, and now we're posting it on the dojo, and we have just this weird thing where, imagine this. There's a name of a person, which is sometimes an acronym. Then that name might be different on the dojo. Their Twitter name might also be different. And so they then send me a Licha study that the only way I can deal with is I have to download it and then open it in ChessBase and then bring it back to chess.com. Oh my God. And then sometimes those studies have like 4 or 5 games in them and I have to figure out which game it was. And then it becomes a math problem of like, oh no, some of the games have, they have these different names. So I got to match different names. So anyways, that was my math problem today. And I just decided, you know what? I'm going to lose a couple games. Sorry about that, because I want to look at Lawrence games and a couple others, and I just wanted to spend some good time with him. All right, so let's move back and look at Vishnu's game. Also something, I feel like I had a little bit more understanding of what was going on here, but I had some real empathy for this game as well, like difficult questions. So one hilarious thing in dojo lore is that I've been called an enabler of Vishnu's King's Indian. And, people are afraid of the King's Indian playing it because, you're on a knife's edge the whole time. And years ago on this same show, I told Vishnu, I was like, dude, yes, the King's Indian is the thing for you to do because you are that guy. That's what I told Vishnu. I said, you're that guy, buddy. That's what you want to do. So that's where we are with it. And I think it's a beautiful opening for Vishnu. And even though he criticizes himself here for not knowing like the proper theory and what all, in general, I don't think that was the problem. It's more what I think is like, let's say, understanding of the Maroczy structure. And, Kostik gets really excited if you say Alekhine instead of Alyoshin. And Maroczy is actually pronounced something bizarre like Morozei, but that's just too hard. That's just too hard. Okay, you guys, oh man, we got 7 more followers. Let's make it right now, man. Let's make it up to 10K, and I'll just say, it's a little bit sad for me because I was trying to hit 2,700 blitz before we hit 10K, but maybe we'll hit the 10K right now. We had a great weekend, by the way, anniversary, 1 year of the dojo. This last weekend was really fun. Okay, Queen D2. Now, I played this system when I was a kid, and my sense is that Queen D2 is inaccurate. It's not the end of the world, but inaccurate. And that Knight GE2 is what White needs to do so that he can meet E5 with D5. After Queen D2, E5, you cannot play D5 because this terrible, terrible thing happens. And I remember still, it was a game from 1980 something, before Vishnu was probably born, that I got burned by this trick. Okay. And it's true that White can play Knight GE2, but this structure seems just great to me for Black. Equal, but still, you're doing great. So I think Vishnu is mixing systems a little bit with A6. And then it's going to transpose back into the normal line with Knight G2. So it could have gone Knight G2 and then, and then Queen D2. Okay. Knight A5. Knight C1. This is obviously really fancy. Knight D7. Bishop E2. C5. Very fancy stuff. And in general, White's only hope for an advantage is going to be to play D5. And what Vishnu is doing here is a very complicated, very elegant thing, really, where you're playing against this. If he plays D5, that we're going to aim for B5, and there's a similar system against the G3 variation of the King's Indian. Okay, so now the question: why, if at all, is this not great for white, and there's actually an interesting answer here. Who's going to be number 10,000? Here it comes, my friends. The thing about this that's really hard to understand is that black is hunting the bishop on e3. Okay? And this is very hard for people to understand. And our friend of the dojo, Eugene Perelstein, has basically made a career out of beating lower rated players who don't get this fact. Sometimes you do want to trade that bishop. But I think a good rule of thumb is white only wants to trade the bishop in positions where we're going to mate black. We're going to see an example of that later, too. Okay, well, moment of celebration for the dojo, my friends. We have cracked, this is my champagne bottle here, we have cracked 10,000 followers. Beautiful time. Beautiful time. Basically, just a couple days after we had our 1-year celebration. So fantastic year. You guys are here for it. Nice. Nice. Okay, so let's get to it, and I'll just show this, and then we can talk maybe a little bit about the dojo. Here, black has two options. You go with the queen trade, but I think even better is just bring this queen knight back with tempo. You're going to play queen b6 next, and you actually have a position that I'm going to say is better for black. And I know that seems anti-intuitive because it seems like white's got the space. But we just stole this business on the dark squares, and we're going to put a knight on c5. And what Eugene Perelstein has showed in his games is even if the knight lands here, we can either trade it or play e6. Yeah, that's right. we were saying forever, months ago, David Proust told his wife, David Proust, of course, helps him with the dojo, right? And he told his wife, he said, listen, 10K followers is what we need on Twitch. Because, if you got some wife, they're not going to understand what you're doing with some, chess thing, so you got to give them something tangible. So he said 10K that's when we could, we'll launch as a website, which is maybe true. That was his true intuition. He wasn't just saying that. And so he told her that, and then it turned into a thing, And so when I was streaming for the longest time, I would write on the stream, I'd say, give Chloe what she wants, we'll get up to 10K. All right. So we gave Chloe what she wanted. That's right. So just to give you a sense of how bad Eugene wants this trade, imagine just, if you will, a bishop on e3 and a queen on d2. What Eugene did, dude, several games, and other GMs have done this too. Imagine a bishop's here. They go h5. Well, at first, they do queen c7. Over here, queen back, h5, king h7, queen f8, bishop h6. All of that, dude. All of that to steal that precious bishop on e3. And it's just like, oh my God, the first time I saw that, I was like, that's totally next level. But that is what white was giving black for free in this position. All right. So instead, Vishnu brought it back, knight b3, and here he can still do it. It's not nearly as powerful because on the other variation, we are coming back with tempo on the queen. But here he can still take and go into the endgame, and that's what Vishnu writes here. A little bit better for black. It's very surprising, but true. A little bit better for black. And like I said, Eugene's idea is that we play bishop e6, snip, and say that the knight is actually better than the bishop in those positions because the bishop is terrible. It's a light square bishop. Okay, so let's look. Now things go bad for Vishnu. Rook a d1, knight takes, bishop e6. And here's a very instructive variation, Vishnu. You write knight c6, and then without comment, you say bishop e7. I feel pretty secure that most GMs here will play bishop e3. But I'm not going to give you that bishop. I'm only going to give you that bishop if we can mate you. Now, could we mate you here? Maybe. It's definitely a thought. But it's not going to be an easy deal. All right, so bishop e6, boom, very good, boom, and now we're in big trouble. Check the miserable king. Vishnu doesn't like it, but I think he's already in trouble. Simple chess. Simple chess. Other moves were possible for white as well. And now we are probably getting mated here. And white finishes this game really nicely. Boom. He probably has other moves, but this was just done really well. Check this out. Nice move. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Dang. Dang. Naughty chess. Nice game, naughty chess. Okay. So let me show you where we're going here. And now we're going to do the dojo battles. We've got several of these games that are conducted in tournaments that we're running on the dojo. And we also have ladder games. Some of these could be ladder games. And we're trying to really run these tournaments. And the cool thing is, in contrast to a longer game that you find on Lead Chess or chess.com, the culture of the dojo, I think, is cool in the sense that you don't feel like, oh, you're going to be playing somebody who's cheating. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that no one's ever cheated on the dojo. I can't speak to that. But I do know that just intuitively, I have the feeling that there's far less of anything like that going on than especially in the longer games that you see on other sites. Okay, if you want to join the dojo, you can join our Discord, and there's usually a link. If you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be a link down below, and someone here will post a link to our Discord in half a second in the chat for me. Okay, so let's move this over here, and let's get into our first one. This is going to be Max, aka Chess Games. See what I'm saying? There's all kinds of different names. There's Max, Chess Games. All right, here we go. I thought this was an instructive one. Kostya is a master of this H3 system. And let's just say, this is all theory, but the knight c6 is not the move that the Najdorf players necessarily want. And the reason I'm stressing that is because I think it helps explain what white maybe should have done down the road. In general, the knight on c6 will be in the way of the c-file, and it will be more of a victim to knight d5 falling, because if you ever take it, then it's going to be hit with tempo, right? The problem here with knight d7 is then you got to worry about knight g3 and g5, and then the knight on f6 not having a square to go back to. So let's play knight c6, bishop e3, and Max is playing so fast, dude, he's got time on his clock. Rook c8, queen d2, and now definitely a weird move, queen a5. Okay, so here's Max's first decision about what to do. Actually, let me just, just to give a shout out, this is, Max is playing Who Carries, who I don't know yet, but he is a part of the Discord, so I want to give him a shout out. So queen a5, kind of a weird move. Max says it's a novelty. And then it's like, what does Max do, right? First decision to make. And it definitely seems like a mistake to me. And I'll just say, from my just sensibility, the way to play here is play g5, and I don't know where he's going to go, d7 or h5, you pick. Regardless of where he goes, then we hit him with knight d5. And to me, it's a very pleasant position, very pleasant. I don't know what he's supposed to do, honestly. If we trade the queen, then our king will just be monumentally better. And I think this is part of the idea of this opening, is at some point we put the knight there, and if he ever takes it, the light square control just turns into an amazing deal. And we'll be talking a little bit about that light square control later as well. And, maybe Max was just averse to the endgame, or thought the endgame wasn't where it was at, I don't know. But to me, that was the punishment of queen a5. And in general, I think, the idea of this opening, g5, knight d5, light him up on the light squares. Knight g3 will come too. Okay, castles. Rook fd1. And now finally knight d5. Okay, good. Snip, and then knight e7. let's read what he writes. And so I traded my good knight for his bad bishop, not realizing once he recaptured, he would be just in time to play d5. Okay, right. So this is like true bishop love that we're talking about here by stealing the bishop. And I'm not even sure d5 is so good by black. Snip. And let's say we play rook d2. I like white's position a lot. Now, I wanted to play g5 first. I really wanted to play g5 first, but I still think white's position is golden. And it's very simple to play, I think. At some point, you're going to play c3. At some point, you're going to play knight g3, and you're just doing great. Yeah. And Max gives some notes. So, knight e7, boom, boom, and now boom. Now I think this is a classic example of black thinking that pawns are people. Pawns are not people. Pawns are not people. And I think to black's mind and white's mind, what black is doing with this is fixing like a bad pawn. What he's actually doing, to my mind, is like white's got a bishop on g2 that needed a little help. And now it's going to be free. So, to my sensibility anyway, I was looking at this and I was like, how about we just play knight g6? You can do your rook a1, I don't know what it is you want to do. And then king f8. I get my king on e7, I'm going to be doing beautiful. And the bishop on g2 is a little funky of a bishop. Whereas after d5, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. In general, wrong. And like Max notes, rook ad1 would be a good move. In general, you don't want to, you don't want to open the bishop on g2, and you don't want to open the position in general when you're playing against the two bishops. So rook ad1 seemed right. Bishop g5 does not seem right. Snip, snip, knight ed5, and now here's another critical position. He takes, and it just breaks my heart. What a nice bishop to take. I thought we should definitely be considering knight g3. And I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but we have a lot going for us in this position with the two bishops, the weak pawn, the weak back rank. It seems to me like maybe we're a little bit better here. All right, boom. g6 is a little controversial. King f8 looks reasonable. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. And now a move that grew on me, chess game. Of all the moves he played, I kind of like this best, rook d6. At the very least, it's giving him something to think about. Yeah, giving him something to think about. And preventing f5. So, h5 I thought was weird. I thought that was really weird. At the very least, you can respond with f3. Of course, well, I'm going to say of course, he should be fine, right? And he should be thinking about king f8. It's important that you do not yet, I don't think you have g5 yet because this guy's hanging. So he achieves this, he'll get e7, he can park this thing, and if you go rook b6, he can park it and then look to play f5, and he should have enough play. But still, I want to give you credit because rook d6, you're at least giving him something to think about. And let's talk about bishop g6, why this doesn't seem right to me, is that you are giving him the trade of the bishops. And your bishop's just better, boss. Your bishop's better, man. Right? What a beautiful bishop. Okay. So, for example, you could think about rook b6 here is interesting. f3 is interesting. Boom. All right, so we get this position. the guy goes all the way back, and he could play f5 already, but he does this, and then this is where Max blows it. But we gotta say, it's like, it's already a little bit of grief, and, you know, so there's the blunder, bishop f5. That's what Max missed. But he's already in a little trouble here with f5 because we're having, it's not that big of a deal. But, you know, he's going to have to do bishop d3 and then wonder about the c pawn in the lower pawn. Okay, so let's keep it going. This is Casper against Ricker, and one of the games that I don't know what happened. This was actually just a weird thing that happened where I saw the game, I looked at it, I even made a note or two, and then I couldn't find it. It was like the link was bad all of a sudden. So I don't have Ricker's second game, but this is Casper annotating his game with Ricker. Ricker's been on the show many times, and I think is an example of somebody who has improved quite a bit over the years. We've been literally doing this for years, also an older guy, even older than me. So, c takes d5, a little bit strange, not terrible though. Now we have a standard Carlsbad structure, and if we really want to get into the details, it's true that c6 is better because then bishop g5 is not possible. So knight f6 will transpose to, let's call it Kasparov's variation of the Carlsbad, Queen's Gambit declined, with bishop g5, and then you can play e3, bishop d3, knight e2, so that the f pawn might still tickle the e4 square. Okay. We got a question, where do I post the game? All you have to do is go be a sub or a patron, a sub on the Twitch channel or a patron on our Discord, and you can submit the game in the monthly game analysis channel. All right, knight f3, bishop g5, snip, weird move, Ricker, weird move. Why? Because now you've given him the golden bishop. It's not the end of the world, and there are variations, let's say like this, e3, h6. There are several strong players who in this position have taken on f6. It's a little weird, but you know, you are saving time. When you do it voluntarily, though, it's a little bit of a bummer. And that's also funky. And the reason is that if you were going to do this, you would want to play e3 to shut the bishop down on f6. And now with e4, I think Casper's right in saying black is better. I don't know if it's like clear advantage. That's a little much for me. But it's definitely an advantage for black. Castles. And now knight f6, also a mistake. Why? Because you're giving black time with the development here. And Casper says with a diabolical position for white. That's an advantage. I don't know if it's diabolical yet, but it's definitely an advantage. So Ricker, what I want to suggest here is that you need to come to religion when it comes to development. And that one is the one you should be mad at yourself at, because you are helping dude develop his business. And your king is a little bit under the gun here, right? Okay. Knight d7, knight b6, b3. You got to get religious with that time. Got to get religious. You know, you need to do something else. Is it maybe a little difficult? It is. But you are not lost at all here, Ricker. You know, if you play moves like b3, you're going to be lost. And notice, it's not just that you're giving time, but that's the most important thing. The reason it's a mistake, you're also giving up the c3 square. All right. What should you do? Queen d2, rook a d1, rook f e1, maybe h3, knight e5. All these things come to mind, but not b3. And to be fair, I know that you did it in the spirit of dominating the knight, but the knight on b6 is actually just as using b6 as what Tal would call a trampoline. He's trampolining off b6 to come to d5. He's not there for good. I'm not sure about bishop g4, just h3 here. Good move. Good. Funky. Funky to trade it off. Now, are you winning a pawn? Maybe, but I still don't like it because your position is so beautiful with a move like bishop f5. Once you do this, you give Ricker the chance to play with the bishop. And yes, he's got some pawn damage, but here he might be able to hold the game. Might. I get it, you're better, but he has a chance now. Maybe on knight d5 instead. Here you write that black is winning. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. Are you much better? You are. I'm not going to lie. King f8, rook d2. We don't like it. We really don't like rook d2 because then the bishop is hanging, or pinned rather, to the rook on e1. So king f1, for example, comes to mind. Yeah, king f1 and bishop c4, you're definitely worse, Ricker, but it's not because the bishop has some dynamic hope. It's not over yet. That looks really gross. Good move. Good move. And Casper correctly criticizes knight g6. What we should note is that the knight is so beautiful in f4, it's not worth it to go, hanging out with, dealing with the pawns. And his move, rook d5, what's nice about it, rook d6, rook d7 also comes to mind, is that the simple way to win against the isolated queen pawn is to go to the heavy middle game, ending. By heavy, we just mean rooks and queens, and start doubling and pounding that guy. He has very little hope when he gets pounded like that. And here we can talk about it being winning because White really did not do anything dynamic with his bishop, and so he's just got weaknesses on the king side and on d4. So, a4, boom, boom. Good move, Ricker. Beautiful. And that's something that black allowed. Unfortunately, there was that. So it was beautiful in intent, but not beautiful in execution. All right. So, beautiful game. And Ricker, again, I don't know what happened to your link, buddy, but we did go over one of your games. Here we go to Back Rank Brawler against AFM Hughes. Very interesting struggle. Here we go. I don't know. We're just going to go past this for a second. I assume d5 is the right move, but let's just get into it in a second because there's things here I really didn't understand. Boom, boom. Check to the miserable king. I'm not sure I understand that move. Bishop e7, bishop d2, queen d5. All right, let's stop here. So, sometimes in the opening, I don't spend too much time on it because a lot of times I just don't know what I'm talking about, right? Like maybe this is some weird Schliemann theory that I just don't understand. So let's just stop here and say, actually this is a position that I know, sometimes we get these beautiful corresponding ideas. It has some similarities, of course, to Ricker's game because black has pawn weaknesses, but he has some chance of dynamic play with the unopposed light square bishop. And honestly, I think I'd rather be black in this position, though that might be something, personal choice. Okay, now big decision here for white, and the thing that I like about his decision, c4, is that we want to put our pawns on light squares so that our bishop on d2 has a nice square control with things like bishop c3. So that part about it I like, and of course he's addressing the fact that black will soon castle long, and then we're going to have a problem with the d pawn. So c4, queen d7, and now bishop c3. And I suppose the variation that's not mentioned but was on people's minds was knight e5, here, 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 and black was doing great. So bishop c3, castles, rook d1. All right, really, really intense position. And black takes on e4, I think with the aspiration of making the game simpler. I'm not sure he should. Boom. Yeah, you lose a lot of tension, but I get it. There's problems with knight e5. Like knight e5 is looming. Let's say this. I think black should say to himself, I'm cool with losing a pawn as long as I get the party started in white's face, right? So there's a variety of moves that black could think about to gambit the pawn. Rook he8, queen f5, things of that nature, maybe even the weird h5. All of those are possible to try to, get the power of the light square bishop moving against the white king. Boom. I don't know which way white should take. DE is certainly simpler, right? And you can see actually in back rank, he's admitting that he's obsessed with going after the pawn on e5, and that's why he plays queen e4 instead of de4. At least after de4, we can play h3, and we're going to grab his bishop, and we should be a little bit better, just structurally, I think. Okay. So, queen e4, and that's a very dangerous position. Bishop f6. I wasn't sure about that move. If I was white, the move that would really freak me out here would be something like bishop f5. Yeah, something like bishop f5. Bishop f6, castles, rook hf8, interesting, h3. Okay, big moment for white, and unfortunately the bishop on f6 is in everybody's way. Bishop h5, and now we gotta call it what it is. It's no fear back rank here. g4, oh my god, back rank, what are you doing to me, buddy? Bishop g6. Now this is one of those positions that I just assumed that black was winning after white did this to himself. And I still feel that way, but I will also admit that I spent some time looking at it and I didn't find like the knockout body blow. So I believe it's there, I just didn't find it. King b8 certainly makes a lot of sense, so let's just assume that's correct. And now back rank, no fear, bishop e5. Oh man. Okay. Oh. All right. Again, I assume that white is in big trouble here, but I couldn't prove it. Back rank's idea has to be, I guess, if h5, then we're playing g5. It just looks so nasty, back rank. It looks like you're allowing so much light square drama here that it's just hard to believe. h5 is certainly, a move. He might be able to get away with bishop d3, but that's just why do that to yourself? And even the weird bishop e7, I don't like that either. But just in general, that's the move we gotta be doing. We don't care about the pawns. It's time to rip open the light squares and mate the dude. All right, now maybe rook d8 was also okay, but right, d4 comes. Now h5. And knight h2. Oh no, back rank. Oh no! Oh! Yeah, all I know is that black has a win here. I don't know exactly where it is, but I know it's here. Queen f7 comes to mind, and the only problem with hg, Mr. Hughes, is that you are liberating this knight. This knight that went into the dungeon, He's in the dungeon. It's not clear that he really deserves to come out. Yeah. These positions are very common, I think, in the world of the e4, e5 players. Just really messy, but beautiful compensation for black. Queen f7 really speaks to me. And then we can think about even stuff like bishop c2, queen g6. At some point we can move the bishop on f6. c5 is going to be a thought at some point. And I guess probably what back rank would have kept on doing was playing f4. Why not? You're all in. You might as well go for it. Okay, but this is definitely wrong when we bring the knight in. All right, queen g3, nice. Nice. Good. Snip, snub, snub. And now what do we got to say? We got to say that back rank is, let's say, clearly better. Okay. Now you write about HG, but of course you should play queen g4. That queen needs to be in contact with the d4 pawn. All right. Boom. 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 Now let me just give you my basic dogma about positions like this. In order to say that white is winning, we gotta say that white has two weaknesses to work with. At the moment, the only weakness black has is down a pawn, so that just counts as one. Now, arguably, black could also make a claim that his king is better, and I really like this a6 move with the idea that we're going to say, look, buddy, I'm just going to fix my king, and then at the very least, white is going to have to worry about getting mated, obviously, but also perpetual check. Okay, rook h6. Were there other moves? Yes. Is black doing fine? Yes. Would we rather be black? Yes. So here we go. Boom. And now it's going to get really spicy, you guys. Really spicy. Boom. Boom. Check the miserable king. Gotta do it. Gotta get out of there. Check. Excuse me, not check in. It could have been to try. I was going to start to transpose. All right. Rook e1. King b6. Whew, very spicy moment. e4, and now I think a mistake. King c5, definitely a mistake. Black needs to say to himself, buddy, I must get my king in front of that e-pawn and play something like king c7. e5, good move, now we're in trouble. a5, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And now somehow this turns into a draw, and I think we all kind of sense that this is winning. And back rank does some analysis here, which makes a lot of sense. King f5, and he analyzes c5, and then says king f6 should be winning. I agree. Is it going to be easy? Maybe not. Maybe not. Let's look at his analysis, though. It is spicy. Man, look at that. Very nice. Okay, so things fell apart with a3, and then what happened? Draw. Whew! Man, oh man. So this is AFM Hughes. We're going to get a second game with the famous AFM Hughes right now. And, uh-oh. I got two back rank brawlers? That's a mistake. Oh, man. Oh, woo, I blew it there. Maybe we'll do one game less. Oh, man, I had a hard time. There were so many people, there's so many acronyms. AFM Hughes, back rank brawler, and back rank brawler is a different guy on Twitter and a different guy, and he has a different name, all kinds of different names. So we're going to move on. And now another double name. This is Simon, a.k.a. Kimaga. So here we go. Boom. And Simon is white. Okay. So maybe I'll just edit this a second. And we'll say Simon / Kamaga so everybody can see what's going on. So, Paul, we do have your game coming up though later. I managed to salvage that one. I worked hard. Okay. Queen c2. Little weird. Little weird. Okay. Little weird. Black should now be thinking about playing e5. Look at that move. b4. Is that a real thing? Holy smokes. Dang, Simon. Take it easy, man. Take it easy. No one treated you so bad. Look at that. Dang. Queen b4. Bishop c7. That's one of the coldest things I've seen in a long time. The queen is gone. Queen is gone. That's like the dream of the London player right there. A little stab with a knife. Dang. Rook b1, rook b3 coming. Unfortunately, it's not that big of a deal because we just go back. And we have to ask ourselves who's better and why. I'm not sure. I guess black I think should be fine. And f5 seems reasonable. Bishop d3. And now knight hf6 is a little bit sad because the dream of f5 was to like scare white so much with the f4 break that he would play f4 or something like that himself. And, you know, was there a way to put that into effect? Maybe we could think about h6, for example. It's at least a thought. Okay. Simple chess, good. Not sure. Because we lose our beautiful knight. So black invested loads of time in getting his knight to e4, and then it was just tossed away. Tossed away. All right, so he's aiming for e5. Good. Man, we gotta say, Simon, you're a master of putting that bishop in there, buddy. Very nice. And now you're doing great, dude. You have a beautiful position here. His position actually is truly bad now. Truly bad. Let's just go back and look at how fast that happened. So, get here, and you've just played bishop d3. My intuitive sense, okay, is that he's fine. And that why? Because he can achieve probably both either f4 or e5 at some point. And that f4 is a little scary to deal with. Maybe it's not so bad, but I just, as a London bishop, you don't want to get it massacred with f4. So maybe g6. In any case, that's a natural move. But the problem is, if you get to play f3 and he's got to take, then we got to say, oh no. And now he can't even play e5. So he plays g6 and you say, boom. Boom, very nice. And honestly, I think he's close to positionally done. He might already, well, wouldn't be close. It's probably already over. Okay, b6. Should you take the thing? I don't know if you should. You definitely don't have to. Definitely don't have to. All right. Yeah, Vish, sorry, buddy. That was your second game, man. I said some deep things over there, Vishnu. I went deep for you, man. You weren't even here. You weren't even here. Vishnu's leaving me, you guys. Me and Vishnu, man, we go back a ways, and he's just leaving me. He's going back to India, not paying attention to me anymore. It's a rough life. Okay. Now, let me just say, let's talk about this decision, and maybe this will help Simon. The reason why this is bad is you're doing it because, like you say, A and C pawns are weak. You're doing it for the pawns. You may well still be better after taking, but now your bishop is a little loose, and his knight gets to do things. In this position, his knight is terrible. His knight isn't doing anything. So you can then ask me, well, Cry, what is it that you want me to do? And, honestly, it's not too easy, but I would just rather just give black another move rather than take on b6. So we can do a variety of building moves, like king h2 comes to mind, and then we can hold g4 over his head, hold rook g1 over his head. At some point, we can maneuver the knight on c3. Because I don't think he ever wants to take on c5. I think that's a bad news. You could, yeah. Okay, so here we go. Boom, boom, boom. I don't like that move. No one likes that move. What should he do? He should play knight d7, try to get rid of your beast. Good. Weird. Very nice. Okay, so now you're back to being firmly in control. Probably winning again. It's a little bit more dangerous because now that he's got that unopposed bishop, g5 has a little bit more oomph to it, which he does. Now, should he have taken earlier on f4? Maybe. I didn't understand queen e7 either. Yeah, he didn't understand it either. He doesn't know what to do. Maybe we'll go back and try to help him out. Interesting. And someone lost a piece. Oh my god. Oh my god, what happened here? Okay, black won a piece. Let's just try to go back a second and help him out. That was amazing, actually, though, the bishop e1 stuff. So we go back here. First of all, one of the things I said, and maybe I was wrong, but I said in this position I still liked you. Now here, I want you to play g3 immediately to hold everything down. Yeah, g3, king h2, you got to make sure he's not able to open the position. So gf is certainly a thought here for him. gf, if queen f4, I'm worried about e5. Am I 100% on it? I'm not, but it looks really worrisome. And again, gf, well, rook f8 is also a thought. And that's weird, right? Because now he's going to have a problem with his bishop. I get it, though, okay. And now I feel like you've consolidated it reasonably well. Oh my god. The reason you're still better here is if you consolidate the position, that pawn on a6, once the pawn on a6 goes, it's all over. So if you just played, like, aren't you much better if you go here? And then queen f1? Something like that? I at least feel like you're the one in charge. You're definitely up a piece. You're up a piece, man. You're up a piece, bro. Yeah, you can even at some point think of knight d3, e5. So that's weird. And then he starts talking to you a little bit. Talking to you, right? And now you're in a little bit of trouble. Maybe a lot of trouble. Even though you're fundamentally up a piece. Yeah. Chess is a brutal game. I love that move. Thank you very much. And now, there's some technical problems, but it's essentially over. It's funny when an old man says, bro, I'm from the time when people actually called themselves bro. It wasn't an ironic thing. All right, let's look at Abu's game. And let me fix Abu so that he is noted. And I think this is Abu's first time in the dojo. We'll flip the board for him. And we get a Nimzo. Okay. Many ways to deal with the Nimzo. And that seems wrong to me. And that seems wrong, but a little bit reminiscent, of course, of Ricker's game earlier. e3, and then black can do many things, but that is by all means the most ambitious. Boom. And then I think we probably have to play ed. Boom. Check to the miserable king. Oh my god, now it's getting wild, right? Knight d7, snip, snip. And while this is complicated, very complicated, we have to say that white is doing better because he stole that beautiful bishop. Even queen c3 would be fine for him. So he goes for it. And now bc3, it's a little funky, it's true. And queen c3 feels correct. Now, b6, reasonable. And let's just say there are several positions in the Nimzo where you're going to play like bishop b7, and the knight will go to c5, the rook will go to c8, and you will have play. Now, probably, I was going to say it's probably better to castle first, but you cannot castle, Abu. You noticed it and maybe even played it on the board, and chess.com was like, no, buddy, there's no castling for you here. At least it's not like back in the day when you touch your king and then you would have had to move to d8. So let's honor white actually just for a moment and say the genius of taking with the pawn is, of course, that his queen is talking to your king. Now, you should play queen a3. That was his whole point, right? Or was there something dramatically wrong? Well, you should play queen a3. Now you get to castle. He gives you his beautiful bishop. And now you're doing great, I think. Yeah. It's kind of humorous. Before, he was the one preventing you from castling, and now you are preventing him from castling. So you say that's a big mistake. It's a little bit rough for him, isn't it, at the moment? Maybe you wanted him to play knight d5. You have great compensation, though, no matter what, because his king is toast, man. His king is toast. Good move. Good move. And now, yes, you should be winning. But this move, I don't know why we're doing that. Let's just say I don't know what you're doing, actually. So, let's just say the terrible, terrible thing about white's position. He can't really do anything, right? So if you just play a move like queen c4, he can't move, right? There's no puedo move. No puedo move anymore, man. I can't move. I'm stuck. And I'm sure there's other things you could do too. Now, is g5 surely still winning? Probably, but it's getting a little funky now. Somehow he castled. Oh no, we're just taking a pawn? Okay, so now we gotta say dramatic things have happened here. And it's not what we wanted. Because now, especially in a practical game, no one knows. No one knows what could happen here. I don't understand rook b1, honestly. Why wouldn't we play knight f5 and then g4 and just start talking to the black king, right? Good move. Good move. Good move. Spicy. Finally he does it. And then there's problems for us, my friend. Yep, there's problems. Now we gotta say, crazy. Before we go crazy though, before we go crazy, oh my God, somebody resigned here, I think was what happened. And I don't know, there's some crazy computer variation here with e4. So Abu, thank you for submitting a game. And what we should say, I think, let's go back to this position. What a beaut that you got here, man. What a beautiful position that you got. You will get a position similar to this in your chess career again. And the main feature, I would say, is that if you simply can stop him from moving, then, that's it. There's no more, no more Puedo mover, He's not moving anymore. Yeah, okay. So let's move on to Seth. I had, on this weekend, we had this cool thing that I think DM Hokie came up with. I'm not sure who came up with it, but we called it Dojo Scrubs. And it was a bunch of guys just talking about their games. Seth was among them. It was kind of a late night thing. I was watching it on my phone, and pretty hilarious. So kind of cool that I got to see him there, and then now I get to take a look at his game here. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so far, so good. CD's weird, right? It's not wrong, but it's weird. And let's just allow it. Come on, Prime. Now, ED would have been the more, let's call it, combative move, and now we've transposed into an exchange Slav. And that's pretty funky. Definitely don't want to sack Seth. And that's incorrect, as you note, because if Black is going to play this position, he needs to use some kind of dynamism in the position, maybe at some point with an h5, h4, and harassing the bishop on g3. And so you get rid of that opportunity, plus you trade off your best bishop, your best piece. e3 was also possible here, as you note. He doesn't have to take, though, on g3, just hang out. But this is fine. That's definitely bad. Queen d4. Why? Because you're moving a developed piece twice. This reminds me of the scene in Searching for Bobby Fischer, where the hustler says, "Bring your queen out, Josh, bring your queen out." And then the dude playing Bruce Pandolfini says, "Don't do it, Josh, don't do it." Right? Okay. So, loads of different moves, and if I have any insight here, it's that White's advantage is of a very positional nature. In particular, you have the jump on time here, and the bishop on c8 is a little funky. But it's still very much a game. Personally, I like the move Queen b3. If he takes, we're going to claim that he's just developed another piece of ours, right? And that way, too, we'll know where our king wants to go. And I'm not sure our queen belongs there. That definitely doesn't make sense. What you're seeing, Seth, is a dude who hasn't been taught that couple things. One, that you shouldn't develop pieces. Why? Because the bishop on c and the knight on b8 are upset, man. They want to play too. They don't want the queen and the knight to have all the fun. They want to go out and have fun and enjoy life as well. So when the other guys are out having fun out at the club, they were saying, "What, dude? How come we can't come? How come we can't come?" The other problem with this move is that everybody who has played Puzzle Rush knows that this is one of the Puzzle Rush stupid problems that happens again and again and again and again with the same. It's always around problem number 16, 10 to 16, and you take here, and it's like, uh-oh, Black has lost a piece, right? Queen d2, snipperoonie, game over. So, Queen c2, and let me just say that even if you weren't winning the night, you should still take the thing. Your advantage is amazing in terms of time. And here you're giving up time. Let me say, Vishnu has heard this so many times that he can't take it anymore, but the biggest problem I see as a teacher at the level between 900 and 2300 is people don't appreciate time, right? And Black and White have both given up time. If you want a sense of how important time is, a good equation is to say, boom, 3 tempi are worth a pawn. Right? In some positions, the tempi are worth more, of course, if the position opens, for example, if there's an attack going on. But in general, tempi are important. So, Good move. I really like this e4 move. And it's interesting that, at some level, mistakes were made here, but e4 is I think, a deep positional move. And there's even, let me see if I can conjure this up. There's a variation in the exchange Slav. Hopefully I'll get this right. Where, so hopefully I don't always get it right. It goes like this: knight c3, pawn takes. I'm gonna get it right. I don't always get it right, but I sometimes get it right. And e4. It's a very nice move, which is interesting to me because it's counterintuitive, because the intuitive move would be to play c4, and that position isn't bad for white either, but this one's far more dynamic because you're going to be able to try to dominate the knight on c6, play on the e file. So very similar to what we have in your game. Similar decision too, right? Because here you could have also played c4. Bishop a6 seems very bad. And you did snip, snip. But if you had taken first on a6 and then played snip on d5, he's going to get mated, right? It's going to go boom, 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 and mate's going to come. Queen has left her man, mate is on its way. Bishop a6, snip. Now he might live. c4, queen f5. And here's an interesting thing, Seth. You clearly have an aversion to the endgame. You don't want to do it, buddy. Sometimes you got to do it, man. Sometimes you got to do it. All right, queen a3. It is a good move to play queen a3. And that's also clever, right? The endgames, both of those endgames would have been very nice for you as well. g4, arguably suicidal. And queen c6 would have been, I don't know actually. You're right about queen c6. I'm not 100%. There's king e7 as well. That would have been the move to kind of worry about. Knight e5, snip, snip. And he's somehow surviving this thing. God, he's a pawn grubber too. I would have played king g7, man. Okay, good move. Good move. Thank you very much. And we're getting good at this. See, that was Puzzle Rush skills. That was crazy Puzzle Rush skills. Look at that thing. I think it might be me. Dang. So, we missed one Puzzle Rush, but we saw that back rank Puzzle Rush. Your opponent, man, that guy was a master of that. A master of the back rank Puzzle Rush. All right. Hi, brave silent knight. All right, Juan, here we go, buddy. I'm going to flip the board for you. Juan's been on the show several times. So here we go. I did a video where I talked about the exchange French, and it is very dangerous for black, especially if they go for this setup of knight e7 and then trying to castle long. I think it's really a bad position, honestly. So one of the things to say about it is that black players sometimes will not be able to deal with the symmetrical nature of the position, and then will just lose their mind. And they will in fact lose their minds about 95% of the time. The other thing about it, the exchange French, that's interesting to me is French players I know, when they hang out in between rounds and they talk about their fears, they're not really usually saying like what other people saying about French people. There's other people about French people who are like, oh no, man, how could you deal with that bishop? No, when French people get together and have a coffee in between rounds, they're saying, bro, he might play the exchange variation, and then I don't know what to do. That's their deepest, darkest fear. Now I've learned, one of the things I've learned as a French player though is, and this game is further proof of it, is the exchange French games are always whack. They always go crazy. It might seem like your board's out of your skull in the first couple moves, but it will never stay that way. I've never seen it actually happen. It's always been a big fight. The only time maybe I've seen a couple games that just went totally dead were they went dead because both players thought it was somehow dead. You'll see in this game it's not dead. Now, h3, I don't like it. Knight f3 is the correct move. Okay, good move. Good move. Probably a good move. And what we gotta say is what's happened is we have got the same position, black does, that he would get, except now he's a tempo up with this h3. And does h3 help white? No, it does not. It does not help white. Bishop f5. I'm not a huge fan of bishop f5. And I'm not a huge fan of queen f5. So the intuition, at least mine, would be take this thing, then this guy can cruise around, and then you start wailing on him. Let's go. It's time to party. Okay. Now, queen a4. It's obviously a violent position, right? It's gone violent. And that's, I think, a nice move because he's saying, my king is actually safe. Bishop a3, nice move. Okay, good. And then somehow, black is not instantly winning this game. It feels winning to me just because the force count is so extreme in front of the white king. So g4 happens, and somehow it's not winning. It's very surprising to me. The other moves that we could do are h5, which is noted, and knight f4. Let's give g4 a shot. Queen f5, rook e3. So amazingly, white is able to hold the line a little bit here. But I think here's where black goes wrong. He plays this move, and of course it looks intuitively right. But I think we gotta play like for knight f4, man, right? Knight f4, and then put a piece on the g file, and let's party, you know? This is taking too long. And now b6. Am I sure about this move? No, I'm not sure about that move. It is true, though, that he's got his own questions. To my mind, queen d1, white might be able to claim that he's better because he's going to, at least it's hard for me to see how you avoid the queen exchange. And why would white be better? Because black goes some time with the knight b8, and we got the e5, right? Okay. b6, snip. Rook e8, snip, snip, rook d8, queen f7, knight c6. Didn't we just help black do this business? Okay, so white, I don't know. We can't explain what white did. We can't. But now black lost his mind with knight h8. And right, something like what Juan gives here with h3 has to be correct. Let's just say the knight on d2 is very upset about life. And there are several moves that black could have thought about besides this one. Oh, Juan, maybe the best way to understand, to improve as a chess player, Juan, and this could be, you know, more than one person could probably say this, or maybe be helped by this. It pains me. It really hurts me. It hurts me a lot, Juan. I just don't like to see it. Okay, so here we go. I think actually, I mean, it sounds like a joke, this thing about physical pain, but it helped me a lot actually when I realized that strong players do actually feel a physical pain when you do something like knight h8. Now, do we know why you're doing it? Yeah, you want to get the queen out of there. He's kind of he's messing with you. He's messing with your mind more than anything concretely, because I don't know what he's going to do, like on the next move. But that's why you feel inclined to do this terrible, terrible thing. And just intuitively, you got to say, well, this is nothing special for you, and maybe it's gone bad. In fact, I mean, forget about maybe, it's gone a little bit bad. Okay. I'm not 100% on him taking that thing. I don't know why we didn't play g4. Passive. Not a big fan of knight e5. In general, let me just say that the the thing that I see again and again is that the challenge people have is playing the endgame. It's hard to learn. And why is knight e5 bad? Because you're trading the knight on c6 that's dominated for a knight that's pinning down the rook on g8. And this rook was a bad move because it's passive. So the move white should think about is g4, stick him with the weakness, play king up, and then, just hold this over his head. He's not going anywhere. We activate the king, start pushing the boys, and let's bring it on home. Yeah, it's that simple. So 95. I guess I wanted you to play. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. It's gonna get hot, obviously. Okay, so let's talk about this position actually for a second. The problem that Black should tell himself is to say, dude, my rook is passive, and if he gets a couple tempi, it's not just that he's going to win the pawn, it's that the shepherd of the passed pawns on the king's side is going to come up and nail me. Who's the shepherd? It's the white king, right? So at some point, you got to think about bailing. Now, you should have thought about it before, but bailing involves activating the rook with some kind of move like rook a8, right? c5, good move. b5, probably a good move. a3 was definitely also on the table for white here. b4, okay, now it's going to get spicy, right? Whew. Yeah, it's definitely got spicy. All right, very fascinating position. And I yelled at you actually about the rook a8 thing, but I got to tell you this one. You are correct that you have managed at least to give him some real problems with b5. I didn't originally believe it, but you at least are giving problems because on a3, rook a8 is even more powerful than it was just a half a second ago, right? I still don't know what's going on, but it's definitely something very scary for him. Now he's really scary. That wasn't it. And that wasn't it, because now your king is powerful. Your king's the main man. Good. Incorrect. What do you want to do? You got to run the d pawn, my friend. Forget about everything else. It's time to run the d pawn. Snip, snip. Check the miserable king. When are we going to run the d pawn? And then what? Does that mean it was a draw, etc.? He offered a draw and he accepted. Come on, get your fighting gear on, man. This is not a draw, especially in some time scramble thing. Somebody's going to blow it. Somebody's going to blow it. And whose pawns are more advanced? Your pawns are more advanced. So what am I trying to say? At some point, let's say you get this position, right? And the guy plays g3. I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. The move to, make him scared is something like king e4 or king d3, one of those moves. And what are you going to do? You're going to start pushing the d pawn. Is he going to win the b pawn? Yeah, he is. But are you going to push it all the way down? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And I don't know. It's probably still going to be a draw, but this is not going to be some, mistakes are still going to be made. And if you just say to yourself, it's activity, bro. Some people like when I say bro. If you got the activity, that's what you want to be, especially in the time pressure. Okay, here we go. We got Falk. Oh, let me give a little update on our business here. We got Falk, Paul, and then Julian writing some good notes. And I did miss a couple games in there, you can see, but I had real problems. People have different names in Discord, on their ChessDojo. This is all. Imagine an old guy like me. You got a different name on Discord, a different name on Chess.com, a different name on Chess, a real name, and a Twitter name. Sometimes I'm dealing with people with 5 names, and I can't keep it together. I can't keep it together. So I send one file to one place. It just gets hard for an old guy. And then with the Chess studies, if someone could please tell me how I save the PGM without having to download it and then bring it to ChessBase. Oh my God. All right, that's my rant. That's my rant. All right, let's go back and look at Falk. I was looking at watching some of Falk's games as well from the tournament this weekend. So this is the first time I'm looking at Falk's games. It's kind of cool. Let's check it out. Falk was black. Let's flip the board. Good move. I don't know if it's actually a good move. It's a good move. It's a better move against the French than it is against the Sicilian. So if you imagine, this is totally legitimate. People think it's not legitimate, and that's why they can lose instantly against this, because it's actually a legitimate idea. This one is less clear, because in this position, d5 is pretty hard to meet. Quickest game in US Championship history, finished like that. Peters, Kamran Shirazi. No, Peters was black. Important distinction. Okay. Now, black has, white has play. Bishop a3 made more sense to me, but okay. d5, good move. Not in the spirit of the opening. e5 is the spirit of the opening. Good move. Check to the miserable. Do I understand what's going on? Not really. There's a lot of things I don't get here. At least I'm honest about it. Okay. Should black be winning? Let's say yes. Is knight g4 a little funky? Let's say yes. What should you do? You should castle. Uh-oh. So this is a disease, folk, and it's called moving developed pieces twice. I know that sounds dumb. I know you're like crying. I've heard that before. But I'm here to tell you, it's a real thing. Okay. So what we should say is if white somehow manages to get an initiative, he will actually have a dangerous position. And the pawn on a3 might not be such a big deal. Snip. I'm not sure I like it. And I definitely don't like that. So now we gotta say white's doing all right. Good move. Boom. And that isn't right. Let's read what you write after rook fc1. I figured I was a pawn up and white would not easily recapture my a3 pawn, so I didn't want to allow any knight takes e3 tricks. I assume you mean knight takes e6 tricks. Let's talk about rook fc1. No, man. It's time for you to start popping this guy in the face on the light squares, right? Now, what is it going to be? At the very least, you want to be thinking about d5. And you want to be thinking, if you're going to put a rook anywhere, it's going to be on d1. You can think about queen b3 if you want. But not rook fc1. I don't know what it's doing there, right? And the pawn on e3, yeah, it's potentially a dangerous pawn, but at the moment it's not doing all that much. And this is a very dangerous position all of a sudden for black. One dumb truth, but it's good mentioning, is that the value of pawns goes up as we get to the end game. I feel like I've known that for all my life, but I'm reading this great book by Shereshevsky, and it was just good that someone said it out loud. And I was like, yep, that's right, thank you very much. It goes up as we go to the end game. So the reason I bring that up here is at the moment, the pawn on a3 isn't the most special of creatures. If you can trade some stuff off, it is, and that's why white needs to understand that right now is when he has got to start punching. Okay, rook fc1, bishop a8. I mean, you gave it a question mark, but it's natural, right? Finally, oh la la, no one knows. Whew. No one knows. I felt lost here. My bishops are useless. My queen is stuck, and my pieces are missing some coordination. Okay. It's definitely funky. I mean, I won't call it lost, though. I won't call it lost. And if you feel lost here, you should at least consider, I was going to call it the spanker. I still kind of like it. But the fact is, your bishop is poor, so at the very least, you need to consider this move. Whack. And whack. And I don't know what's happening, but it's a very dangerous position for dude, right? Because you are going to think about things like f4, right? In fact, if you felt for whatever the need, you could have played f4 before bishop takes f3. But why should you consider it? Not only because it's a mate, but just because, or you're touching the king, but because your bishop was bad on d5. So, okay, I'm not sure about that. Definitely not sure about that. And let's just say, maybe we should just point this out. Sometimes it's good to make fun of people. Now, I know the millennials really don't like that. They really don't like making fun of people. But the point in a chess analysis, and what I mean by really making fun of people, sometimes you make fun of others, but what I really mean is it's good to make fun of yourself and others, just because there are certain positions where you make a move so bad that if you make fun of yourself and you laugh at yourself, you can do it better next time. So let's just think about what white does here. He's got a beautiful knight on e6. Should black have probably just taken the thing off the board? Yes. So what is he? And the bishop on a8. One of the worst pieces we've seen ever in dojo history. What happens? Oh no. He went to go take the thing. No, man. No, dog. That's not what you wanted. All right. So here we go. Check the invisible queen. All kinds of weird stuff is now happening. All kinds of weird stuff. Do I understand it? I don't. Did white want that exchange of queens? No, he didn't. And I assume, what do we got to assume? We got to assume that black is just winning this thing. Good move. Thank you very much. And you, my friend, are crushing this dude. And he loses on time. So, Falk, welcome to the Chess Dojo. I hope that was helpful. All right, this is the famous Paul. Paul used to be known as Paul in New Jersey. He then rebranded himself to Paul 1E4. And here he plays some moves that I thought were legitimately great. In the past, Paul has submitted games that just felt very pessimistic and sad about life. But this one is definitely interesting. Okay, so boom, boom, boom. Now, I guess this is all theory. So let's just walk through this for a second. I think the deal is, my understanding, okay, it's not great in this position, but that it's important for white to stop d6. So for example, if d4, black plays d6 and maybe he lives. So therefore, this queen b3 happens. And we're going to allow the bishop, losing the bishop, which I'm not thrilled about. And then we get this one. Okay. Obviously, a crazy position. In general, though, I believe in black. Why? Because the bishops are beautiful. It will be a difficult position to play, though, on a practical level because of the weaknesses. And just to a position that I've had many times similar to this is this one here. It can come a variety of ways, but this thing. And, you know, you got the two bishops. Black will at some point play f6, center liquidates. I like black better, but it's very hard because, you know, just one slip and then the guy's on top of you like a spider monkey, and it's no fun. Okay, so here we go. Okay, beautiful. Now, was d6 possible? Yes. But I like the spirit of d5. I do believe just in general that you are much better in this position. I'll take it back. I think you're winning, Paul. I think you're winning this position. The bishops are just too amazing. And kind of similar to that French position I showed you, the pawn on h6 looks like a loser, but he's actually pretty cool because he controls some squares over there. So I like d6 better, but I like the spirit of d5. And bishop f5, that was the move where I was like, I don't know. Now I think, Paul, that what you're motivated by is the comfort that the bishop on f5 gives you, because then you can play bishop g6 and you can say that you feel really snug as a bug in a rug over there on the king side. But what I think you got to see is that you're not interested in defense, you're interested in slamming this dude because you've got the bishops. So again, it's not an easy position, but I would have thought that what you should do is castle, play king h8, play rook g8, and then later decide where you're going to put the bishop on c8. One problem, of course, too, is now you got to be concerned about at any point losing the b pawn. I still like your position. That one I don't like, though. And right, you're terrified of knight b5. It's just a sad thing to be scared of, you know? I get it, though, and it's partly this bishop f5 move that's done it to you. Oh, yeah. a4, it's like he misunderstood, right? He was thinking that you played a6 to play b5, and in fact, you were just terrified of knight b5. So that's a free tempo. Good move. Not sure about bishop f6. Good move. And then things in the next couple of moves just go dramatically wrong. What you can see, right, is this is your snug in the bug thing that you're doing. But look at that. No one's snug as a bug now, and all of a sudden things have gone wrong. Oh. That one makes me cry, buddy. That one hurts me bad. Now, was it a little bit of a funky position? Yeah, it was. Things had gone funky. But it wasn't time for that. No, man. No, bud. Come on, man. Come on, don't do it, because that's just resigning. Oh. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay. E6, we're going to call probably just too quick of a move. Yes, good move. And now we don't know what's happening. In fact, we know a little bit. Now you have chances to be better, right? He completely blew all of his beautiful pawns, and now you have the Fischer endgame. You've got the better king. Now, you reject rook d8, and I just gave this long speech, right, about how you don't want to be passive in the endgame. But the beauty of rook d8 is that the guy's going to find it hard to deal with just you having the threat of bishop d5 and then the rook being active. So rook d8, I think you are much better, but just by keeping that pawn on, you keep much better winning chances. But are you better here? Yes. The problem is now the knight is at least talking to you a little bit. Good move. Funky. I don't like that one because he's giving all kinds of weaknesses. Very good. Again, I'm not totally sure I understand. Thank you very much. Now, you guys, this is also hilarious. You know, every month we do a game from Paul, and he's always so down on himself, dude. Just like, oh man, I'm not doing good with my life. This is all terrible. And look what he writes here. I considered h5. I also considered offering a draw. Dude, you've got the Fischer endgame. You've got the better bishop. You've got the better rook. You've got the better king. I shouldn't say you have the better bishop. You have the only bishop. All right, here we go. Boom. Should the guy be able to draw? Maybe. I think I'm okay with that move. Now, he's testing his luck here, right? And you play b6. He's testing his luck. We're really close to wasting him here because his king is so poor. I'll say that, okay, b6, b5, good. Let's say that's got to be correct. Rook b3. First of all, Paul, I don't know if you're winning this, but we don't want to draw here, buddy. We're here to waste this guy. We're here to kill this guy. You kidding me? Yeah. So let's think about it for a second. Paul's pessimism is famous, dude. Famous. Look at this. Let's just look what he writes. Rook e4, rook b5, and he writes, all White had to do was push the d pawn, and I was lost. What, dog? What? What are you talking about? You're the man. You're the man here, man. Okay, so maybe your original intention was to play rook b4. But look, you're in charge here, man. Play rook f4. Let's give him the business, man. And I don't know, he's going to have to do something nasty like this. And then, you know, we'll consider, I don't know, bishop e6. We've got moves to consider, you know. We can consider h5. He's not going in. No, we're okay, dude. We're okay. Maybe we're not winning, but we're definitely not. We're the one knocking. We're the one that's knocking. Okay. And now it's a draw. All right, you guys, we got one more game left, and it is a very spicy game. Very good notes. And I just want to stress something about this show. That, again, I said at the beginning, but I want to say it again. The original intention was to help motivate and help people in general annotate their games. That is the most difficult way to improve, but confronting your own ideas is what's going to hone them into something stronger. As you can see, Fischer behind me fell off the wall, and that's because I've been playing blitz chess, and that's Kosia's fault because he said now it's COVID times and we should play some blitz chess. But really the problem with blitz chess is you're just going to make the same dumb mistakes again and again and again. And I lost one of my battles because I said that I was going to try to make 2700 blitz before we got 10K here on the stream, but I lost that one. I'm still going to do this dumb 2700 quest. But anyways, I'm trying to say that kind of chess experience is, you know, it's fun. I love streaming in front of people and saying rude things, but it's not going to deepen your understanding of the game. This is what will do it, and the reason I'm bringing it up again is I really liked Julian's notes here. So, it's a beautiful system, and it has a lot of similarities to the London system against the King's Indian as well. Castles, bishop e2, h6, bishop h4, g5, bishop g3, knight h5. And I'll say one thing that's kind of, let's call it historically interesting here, is this is of course known as the Smyslov variation. And I've said a lot of Smyslov games. And the thing about it is I know from the way he plays and the way he's talked about the game that for him, and to a large part his generation, it wasn't such a big deal to lose the bishop. Now with the computers see this position and they're like, oh man, give me that bishop, give me that bishop. And now, of course, I'm influenced by the computers telling me in a variety of positions that the bishop's a really cool thing. But if you want to play this position and just say to yourself, well, it was good enough for Smyslov, it's got to be good enough for me, that's okay too. All right, queen c2, knight f6, probably reasonable. There's a variety of ways you can take the thing on g3, and you can play e6, and you can play f5, f5 being the most aggressive, and you're not really afraid too much of your king getting mated, because the bishop on g7 is an unopposed bishop, which makes it the case that it's very hard to get at the black squares around the king. But this is okay. Good. c5, reasonable. And here we got a big decision. Let's read what Julian writes. I don't know if it's Julian or Julian. Here's a big decision I made, and it might not have been the right one. I'm keeping the position closed while having better development. I played this move without much thinking, as I knew white should play d5 in many variations. But every position should be evaluated individually, and I failed to do so. So one thing I'll encourage people to do is when you come up upon something like this, and you're trying to think about it, definitely give the variation, but then try to say why. Why maybe you wouldn't want to play d5. And one reason to be suspicious about d5 in this position is that by playing d5, you are entombing the bishop on e2. So that's one thing you could just say out loud, right, in your analysis. The other thing you're doing is you're freeing the bishop on g7. And so the variation that comes to my mind would definitely be putting some kind of rook on d1, probably this guy. Why? Just to say, no, we're not going to let you free. Okay, so we got a beautiful sub from Apex Cuddler. My sub sound is just going on and on. I might need help from support. Do I got any support, man? It's gone crazy. It's gone crazy. Oh, I got a problem, you guys. I need a problem. It's just going on and on. How do I stop the sub sound? Oh wait, maybe I just switched scenes for whatever reason and it stopped. Whew. Man, oh man, that was a brutalizer. All right, everybody, I think I solved that problem. Whew, all right. Whew. Man, I just had to bring in the Highlander just for a second. Let's bring in the Highlander.
There can only be one.
That's all you need in life, my friend, is if you can bring in the Highlander, he'll solve a lot of your problems. If you ever have a problem, you just call on the Highlander. Okay, so let's talk about this and say that we've seen a couple really bad exchanges today, and that's definitely one of them, from black, taking that thing. The pawns are on dark squares, my friend. That was your beautiful bishop. And white had a terrible bishop getting blocked by his own squares. And now, boom, I love that move. Beautiful move. Now black is going to pay. Oh, that's a nasty one. Okay. So, situation has evolved, and my sense is that you are strategically winning this game. You play knight f3, which can't be bad, but let's just say the sadness of that move is that your queen is blocked from coming out to talk to the king. So for that reason, I would say, given that you're going to play e4 anyway, that's why you should play e4 now, right? Because, like, let's say he plays f6 now, then at least we can think about things like queen g4 and queen h5, because there's no knight f6. And if he doesn't play f6, well, this is a problem. This is a problem. Like, you wrote knight g4 here, but look, you just bring in another boy. You bring in another dog, and you're saying, hey, buddy, let's talk. Let's have a discussion. All right. So, here we go. Knight f3. That was a crime. There's a guy named Edward Gufeld back in the day, and if you'd done that to him, if you'd given up his bishop, he would yell at you. The millennials don't like it when you yell at him, but he would have yelled at you. He would have yelled at you. Okay, here we go. You still got a great position, no doubt about it. Now, this is a thing that you'll sometimes see, and I'm sure this is how Black was motivated. He had seen a similar idea. And Jinjiashvili, who is friend of the dojo, Eugene Perelsein's old coach, had a similar idea. It wasn't nearly as nasty as this position, but it was a similar idea. And maybe I'll just show the comparison position, which is also bad for Black. I hope I remember it. Sometimes I don't remember these things. But it went like g6, c4, bishop g7, knight c3, c5, d5, bishop takes, pawn takes, f5. Badness, I know. And it's bad, but in pre-computer days, this was like something that people were excited about. But the key idea from Jinji was that by making e4 difficult, this position might be playable. And people then figured out it wasn't playable because you could just sack the pawn and then play f3, or you could do h4, h5. But there were a number of games where Black, was allowed to play knight f6. In fact, I think I lost a game to some GM like 1987 where I didn't understand that I had grief, and I played like knight f3 and knight f6, and then it's this interesting dance where the knights have some squares. In any case, that's the comparison position to the one you get, where we got to say the lady has left her man over here, and your force count over there on the queen side, king side, is just amazing. So, I'm not thrilled. I want you to play rook a e1. Definitely not great. e5, thank you. Are you winning? Yeah, you're crushing it. Oh, buddy. Oh, there it is. And I love what you said here. I went with my intuition, and what I've learned so far about chess is that I shouldn't care about the a2 pawn. Spoken correctly. Oh, that's a nasty one, right? That's just a nasty one. That has to be correct. That can't be right. And now here you're low on time, and so we totally understand. But intuitively, rook f1 is not what we want, right? Not what we want. I get it. You're afraid, and maybe he still might have trouble, but here he might be able to live, right? Whereas I think if some kind of consolidating move like king h2 would be really hard to meet, because then you hold all your ideas. The rook wants to be on e1, right? I'm still so happy the Highlander solved my problem there. I'm not very good with the technology. And the guys here at the dojo, the millennials, like to make fun of the old man because of that. But I solved a key technological problem, but with the Highlander. That's how I solved it, my friends. I solved it with the Highlander. Rook f1, probably incorrect. He doesn't understand that the queen needs to be next to her man. Check to the miserable king. Check to the miserable king. Adios, muchachos. Wait, what happened here? Why did it get so complicated? Yeah, knight f6. Of course, you're winning this position. Another smooth move here, I'm sure. Yeah, knight f6. Easy business. Okay, so it got complicated, but amazingly, you pulled this off with a king walk that I really admire. Check this out, guys. No, we're just going to walk it on over, boss. We got it under control. No more checks for you, buddy. Check, check. Uh-oh, mate. So very nice game, Julian. Very nice game. And yeah, nice. Also showing, actually, let me just tell a story that maybe some of you will resonate with. I have some students that get positions like this with black, and they're always real hesitant about the g5 knight h5 thing. And why? Because the game might go crazy like it did here. And it's true, like there's a long-term danger, especially when we get deeper into the middle game, that our king could become exposed. And the thing to see about it is bad positional decisions will lead to that exposure. And the one we should really highlight is the screamer was bishop g4 followed by bishop e2. A real screamer. Yeah. Now this thing with this normal comment, I gotta say, it's the weirdest thing ever. And it's a lead chess business where it says normal, whatever reason, after every analysis. So every time I do an analysis, I pull it off for the PGN, it's like normal. And first time I saw it, I was like, what are you guys talking about, man? What are you talking about normal? I don't know what you're saying, bro. Okay. So, all right. I am going to get out of here in a second. And we got a Kostya coming on in just a touch. And I'll write him here. Let's say, you ready to come on? And I just got to say, we here at the dojo, we've been working for this 10K thing for a while now. We finally got it. If you could follow us, you haven't followed us, give us a follow, dude. We're all pumped down, man. We're ready to go. We're ready to go. And another announcement I want to make is on Friday, 1 o'clock Eastern, I'm going to be doing this thing with Kostya and David, where we're going to be calling GM Endgame Sensei, and I'm going to be the Endgame Sensei. And the basic idea is this. Kostya is a very talented young man. So is David. And my intuition, as someone who's been around the game a while and has coached a lot, is that Kostya's main hurdle to becoming a GM once this COVID thing reopens is his endgame skills. Now, maybe he could become a GM without it too. Like he's been doing a lot of work, but I really feel like his endgame skills could really be taken up a notch with not even that much work. So when you think about like how much work he would have to do to improve his openings or his middle games, obviously you can make some improvement there, but the amount of work you'd have to do to make gains in the end game, I think are a lot less, So what I'm going to do on Friday, and hopefully every Friday going forward, is do this Endgame Sensei thing. And what I'm going to do is I am going to give them a position to play out with a time control. And they're going to have their microphones off so they can't hear what we're saying. And I'll talk about the position with people. We might do some kind of guess the move thing while that's going on. And we'll do some polls about who do we think is better and why, and kind of talk about it. And then after it's done, we'll analyze it and then see what the super GMs who played the position originally, how they interpreted the position. Now, that doesn't mean that they are right. I've analyzed these positions deeply myself. It doesn't mean that my analysis is right. It's just that, there's some ideas, and working with those ideas, I think, is a great way to improve. And, a bummer of my life is I am already a GM, and that means it's, now I just got to hope to be able to play in the U.S. seniors. Kostya and David can still do it, man. And this is a way for me to train them to be part of their journey. So I'm going to get out of here.